A lot of conversations happening right there. Well, we love the vibe, we love the excitement, and it's time we take that vibe and that excitement to our next session that will focus on transforming talent, building critical skills, and developing leadership for the future. I see a lot of people standing here in the aisle area. May I please request you to take your seats because it's only time for us to now invite our speakers on stage. If you'll have your cup of tea and coffee, you can please grab the cup of tea and coffee inside and join us for the conversation. Requesting everyone to please take your seats. As it's now time, I invite our moderator to set the context of what's in store for discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Mr. Deepak Deshpande, Vice President and Head Customer Experience, Tata Business Excellence Group, to join us. And then I invite all our speakers on stage, urging everyone to please take your seats as our moderator is right here to set the context for us.
Thank you. Good afternoon, all. Thank you so much, Priya, for keeping the energy levels really high. So it's a privilege to welcome you all to this session, Transforming Talent, Building Critical Skills, and Developing Leadership for the Future. We are all living through a period of profound transformation. The acceleration of AI, quantum computing, automation, and global connectivity has fundamentally reshaped the way we work, we lead, and we learn. In this era, it's not just talent is not just an asset, it's the engine of innovation, resilience, anti-fragility, as well as competitive advantage. The skills that powered organizations yesterday are becoming obsolete. The leaders who thrived in predictable environment must now navigate ambiguity and inspire in a time of rapid change. And the cultures that merely adapt to change must evolve into ecosystems that create it. So today I have 3 tracks or focus areas on which we are going to have these conversations. Number 1, skills as a currency. In a world driven by data and the ability to continuously upskill and reskill is no longer just a matter of option, but it's survival and thrival. Number 2, reimagined leadership. The leaders of tomorrow must master not only strategy and execution skills, but also emotional intelligence, inclusivity, and the capacity to inspire both in virtual and hybrid worlds across the 4 Ps. That is profits, people, planet, and people. The last one, the third track, is learning without boundaries. The future of learning is now personalized, AI-powered, and embedded into workflow, which has made it so easy, enabling us to bridge today's skill gaps faster than even before. With this, the overall focus on personalized learning journeys has really helped us to use technology. But we are also going to dwell on the softer part, where Dr. Roff mentioned of being soulful. So that's one aspect we are going to look at. And today's conversation, it's just about preparing for the future. It's also actively shaping it. How do we design organizations that build leaders as fast as we build our products and render services? How do we ensure technology is not to replace talent, but to amplify human potential? We are fortunate to have distinguished HR visionaries, each at the forefront of redefining talent in this transformative age. Together, we'll explore the bold ideas, innovative practices, and hard-earned lessons that can guide us towards a future where talent transformation is not just a response to change, it's a catalyst for all of us. To our audience over here, I would invite you to think big, challenge the norm, and embrace a shared responsibility to build the future. And would invite your active participation. We are going to open a Mentimeter. Pushkar, if you can open it. And please scan this QR code, and there'll be a first question which would be coming. And like I mentioned, we would want to make it really interactive. I'd now welcome Priya back on stage to invite my fellow panelists on the stage.
Well, thank you, Mr. Deepak. A round of applause for him for setting the context for us and what we look forward to in this discussion. Now inviting all our panelists, may I please welcome Mr. Joseph Abraham, Head of Human Relations, India Commercial and Global COE Marketing, Mylan Pharmaceuticals Private Limited, a Viatris company. Warm welcome to you, sir. May I please invite on stage Dr. C. Jayakumar, Executive Vice President and Head of Corporate Human Resources, Larsen & Toubro Limited. Well, I think we just had a chai and coffee outside, and I think it has more energy than any distilled drink in the world. Let's give a round of applause for all our speakers joining in. May I also please invite Mr. Nilmani Singh, Group Head, Learning and Head, Global Center for Leadership, Gyanodaya Aditya Birla Group. Warm welcome to you, sir. Yes, we are really looking forward to this conversation. Over to our moderator to take this forward.
Hello. Yeah, thank you. So I hope you have been able to quickly access this, and if you can go to the next slide, wherein we'll quickly look at the responses. But as responses keep on, and so this is one point on which we wanted to invite your views. What are the most critical skills that organization would need to nurture and build in next 5 years? As you share your views, let me just go around and request top of the mind views on this very important critical theme, starting with Dr. CJK. So CJK, if you can share your views on talent transformation.
Good morning. At the outset, thank you CII for inviting me for this panel. I'm a bit nervous because Deshpande used to come for our CII internal audit. Though it is a panel discussion, but seeing him, I get that thoughts. Sanjay, you did a wonderful job in the morning, setting a broad context about the Indian economy, the overall setup, from 4 trillion to marching towards 7 trillion, talking about the demographic dividend, talking about the different opportunities available. Today, if I look at, most of the organizations are not much worried about the top line. The biggest concern is the bottom line. Lot of concern in terms of productivity, in terms of how do we adopt technology adoption, how do we reduce cost, reduce time, how do you catch up to the demands of the customer, how do you manage the competition. That is the biggest challenge today for any organization. So today even I can be very candid, if something can stop L&T's growth, if one thing can stop L&T's growth, that will be the talent, availability of talent. Because otherwise we have enough orders and it is in a lot of scope, opportunities available. How do you build a talent pipeline today is the biggest challenge which we look at. Before even getting into that, taking cue from the people who are talking today in the morning, straight away we cannot jump into talent development, capability building, etc. First and foremost, we understand, like Shaji and Padmanabhan was talking about, understand the entire overall of the business, the environment in which we are operating, where we are today, and the next 5 years, where are we going to be there? Which are the business lines we are going to be there? Which are the new businesses we may be entering into? Which are the new geographies we will be entering into? Which are the lines we may exit? And what is your capability today? And what you require in the next 5 years? Where is the gap? And then have a systematic plan of how we are going to build those capabilities. It can be, then you dissect it into various things in terms of leadership, in terms of behavioral, in terms of technical capabilities, in terms of grassroots level training, in terms of mid-level, in terms of senior level. Then get into the details of those things. So it is a holistic exercise of building the organization, aligning with the business requirement, understanding the challenges of the business, and focusing into details. Thank you.
Thanks, Doctor. I think you've said it right. One thing which can be a major risk is lack or non-availability of talent. I think it's very profound. I was just looking at the word cloud. One thing which is coming out is agility, which means we as HR professionals would also have to deliver things in a real agile manner. Continuing this thought forward, I would invite Joseph to share your views on talent transformation and the need urgency for it.
Thank you, Deepak. Good afternoon, everybody. So let me give a context to where I'm coming from when I will be giving my views. For me, it's always about, as an organization, what is it that we are looking for to achieve our objectives of, say, sales, profits, operational excellence, and whatever else we've decided. And to ensure as an organization at all times, we are competitive, relevant, and differentiated. Not only for now, but also in the coming times. So there are multiple ingredients. One of them critically is, which is important for us, is the people. We need to ensure that as an organization or as a HR function, we equip our organization as well as the resources, including people, so that we future-proof them. And hence the relevance of this particular topic. There are several other aspects that are written here and also that we were having in mind in terms of digital literacy, emotional intelligence, adaptability, innovative thinking, and also building the future leaders for the future-ready workforce. So at all times, we need to have clarity on where the business is, where it wants to be, and where our employees are, what is the people's voice, what's the organization's voice, and how do we move that gap so that we reduce the gap and are better equipped for the future. Now, what happens with this is our stakeholders, our investors, our employees are all taken care of. The well-being happens for these various stakeholders, which means it's a win-win. So what we need to do is ensure that we build a culture which revolves around these competencies that we were talking about, and we will come to it as we go along, and have our development strategies built accordingly. So that's where I would take it. Thank you.
Thanks, Joseph. So a very valid point, you use this word competence. So I think it's very important to understand what are our current competences and what are the future competences. And we also spoke in the morning about known unknowns and unknown unknowns. So I think it's quite important to understand how do you look at learning and probably ensure that all those aspects, probably a decade back, agility might not have featured in this particular aspect over here. With this, I'd request Neelmani to share his views as somebody who is a provider for learning across the group and across the organizations. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Deepak. And my co-panelists have brought it so well. It's easy for me to segue into. First of all, thank you everybody for being here. Yeah, I'll try and speak something which is valuable, not there on the Google or YouTube, worth the effort coming here. I know we put this effort for that. So at Aditya Birla Group, where I am, as Dr. C.J. Kumar was talking about L&T, 110 plus billion market cap, 70 billion revenue, 190,000 employee, 104 nationality, 41 countries. No, I'm not saying this to Tom. What I'm trying to make a point is the complexity. How do you work in that? And the topic today we are talking is transformation. Talent transformation, building critical skill for future. So I see three things here: transformation, critical skill, and future. Now, let me speak like a deep HR professional and a learning and leadership professional. What is transformation? Moment you say transformation, the word metamorphosis, or concept of metamorphosis comes very vivid in our eyes. Literally changing, caterpillar to butterfly, the most common metamorphosis concept. Now, metamorphosis is nothing but movement from one to another. And at the same time, we are talking in a developing economy like India, the speed of movement. The businesses which we are all into, be a 300 crore business or 3,000 crore business or a 30,000 crore business or 100 billion business. The speed which, now the challenge is metamorphosis or transformation cannot happen without pausing. Now, how do you pause while in movement? It's quite oxymoron. And that's what we HR professionals have to do. Bring that pause, because transformation in talent will happen when inner movement will happen. And there can be many dimensions, and I'll talk about the dimensions where in Aditya Birla Group, we are looking at the senior most top leadership transformations and movements, and in senior leadership movement. So allow me to refer my notes so I make sense to you. So now, long ago, I had gone to Crotonville, and there, the head of learning there had said that we have brought a very senior leader from Air Forces and going to look after the G Aerospace. And the person is here for 9 months at the leadership center, going through accelerated leadership process. We have multiple accelerated leadership interventions happening at Aditya Birla Group, and I'm sure at your places also. But nobody takes 9-month pause out of the job. And they do while they're doing their job. Now, how are we doing all this thing? So few things which we are looking at, to talk about things like shifts. We are looking at multiple shifts. We are looking at shifts like, the shift at relationship, shift at cognitive level, shift at self level. And those are the space which we'll talk a little bit more as I go around. Thank you.
Thanks, Nirmali, for getting in those softer aspects and diving deeper into it. Let me just go back to Dr. Jaykumar. Sir, you didn't mention about me coming in as an auditor, but more of an assessor. One thing which stands out is L&T is a temple of learning. And many people who have moved out from there vouch that if you are from L&T, then you are there. So I think the temple of learning has really served the purpose of L&T. So from a future perspective, can you share some aspects so that the L&T continuously invests so much on identifying those skills for the future and so on, so that you continue to be that temple of learning? Any thoughts on that, sir?
It is, yes, L&T also stands for learning and training, L&T, yeah. And somebody jokingly says lunch and tea also. That also is good. Our canteen is very good and we get excellent food there. See, the learning is a continuous process in L&T. Literally around 17, 18 learning centers are there, physical centers, right from the Leadership Development Academy in Lonavala, Technical Training Academies in Mysore and Mad. And every business we enter into, we get into training those people in those areas. Like railway business, we have a rail academy. We went into tunneling, there's a tunnel academy. When I say a tunnel academy, we have a real TBM, tunnel boring machine, with an expert who's in this area. And we have a demonstrators, we have people who literally demonstrate and do this. When I'm talking about rail academy, we have in Kanchipuram, if you enter inside, you will really think that it is a railway station. You will not even think it's a training academy. It's a real railway station type. So the trainees, GETs, or the people go there and get a real hands-on training into those areas. We start at different level. One at the grassroots level, which is the biggest problem today, is the workman availability. You would have seen even in our CMT talking in various forums regarding carpenters, barbenders, fitters. You don't get them today. How do you develop them? We have construction skills training institute across the country, 9 to 10 training institutes. We get people from the NGOs, 10th pass, 12th pass, put them through a request, 3 months training, accommodation, stipend, then move them, then bring them back. Then the policy of grow your own timber. Most of the people today are all people joined as a graduate engineering trainees, postgraduate engineering trainees, or diploma engineering trainees, and they move through the ladder, put through clear career path defined and they are rotated and then moved. Like a person gets into as a site engineer, then after 2 years moved into a planning engineer, construction manager, project manager. So he knows his career path where he moves into. And then we move into leadership training. We went into a competency-based HRM where we have very clearly identified the competencies for each of the levels of leadership and the proficiency level. We have our own development center. It's interchangeably used as an assessment center or a development center. They go through the process with various multiple tests, multiple assessors, and then integration, and then identifying the gaps, and then individual development plan, and they're taking further. And we have for each level, we have a leadership development training. I'm moving across. What we are doing now differently is from the whole structure of hierarchy-based, cadre-based structure, we are totally moving towards a role-based organization. So the skills are becoming more important. What is this? A project manager for that role, what are the skills required? How do we get into that? And we have leveraged digital learning to the maximum extent. I'm taking too much of time, so I'll give it to the panel. If time permits, I'll come back. Enormous investment in terms of digital learning. Whatever Shaji was talking about, AI-based coach available along with that, any topic at any time, whether it is Coursera, whether it is Skillsoft, whether it is Percipio, Coach One, you name any of the platform which is made available, including EBSCO and ProQuest for research, etc. So that we continuously, we think it's an investment in people. If you are not doing it, you will be left behind. So we continuously do that at every level, at every time. Yeah.
Great, thank you, CJK. Joseph, I'd like to come back to you. We also heard earlier in the morning in terms of the India's growth rate, which is almost 6.57, whereas rest of the world might be around struggling to be at 3.5. And for a global company like yours, where you need to have a faster track of critical skills and learning, any ideas, thoughts, and challenges that you come across when you work with your global headquarters?
Okay. So, what we try and do also is to see what global approaches are there. Some of the Indian approaches are also considered. And what I have liked about this organization is very open to imbibing interventions from each other. We've had our employees going abroad and training them across countries. We have had trainers from US, Europe coming to us and training our employees as well. So it works both ways. So it's a lot of knowledge sharing, a lot of skill development which is cutting across. Let me also give an example of, I mentioned about digital literacy, and I see it here, and I also see agility, adaptability, flexibility. So what we have also done, and it cuts across our verticals in terms of horizontal as well as from top to bottom. So let's take example of digital literacy. There is a technology acceptance model, which is a social science model, which states that people are motivated to accept and adopt new technologies provided they see there is perceived usefulness, perceived ease of use, and attitude towards usage. Now, technology is ever changing, and there's a growing reliance on the big data, practical applications of AI, and the automation tools, which also means that our current workforce cannot just be adept at the traditional competencies, but also has to be digitally adept. And this, when I say this, is also important because it's not limited to certain verticals. It has to cut across India-based verticals of ours, and also with our global partners. We have teams who cater to marketing requirements, global requirements, actually. So that also is done from here. So there's a lot of knowledge and proficiency available in India, which is getting utilized abroad as well. Even in our other verticals, we have this kind of support happening. Now, we also need to use integrate the various initiatives like the Digital India campaign, which emphasizes on digital inclusion in the rural and urban landscape, and align ourselves in terms of upskilling from a digital perspective for our betterment in our framework of talent development. Now, while I'm saying all this, please understand this has to be across. Now, let me give one example of what we have done. Pharma industry, lot depends, especially at the commercial world, lot depends on our medical reps when they go and meet the doctors. Now, it's very important for us to ensure that they are well equipped. So for that, what we have done is there's a AI tool which is like a video recording. Like you guys are recording us. But while I'm speaking to you on various aspects as a medical rep about our brands, the advantages of our brands or our company, because all this is required for the doctor to understand us and use these brands of ours for the patient's support and recovery. Now, when I'm doing this, this video grab of mine also gives me feedback, real-time feedback, so I understand whether I am good, bad, ugly. So I can work upon myself. So this has been a big enabler for our medical representatives, which means they can perform better in the doctor's chamber. So this is how we are utilizing, again, cutting across. Whatever I'm saying is working across, so that's where I was bringing it up.
Great. Thanks, Joseph. I think excellent example of working with the upstream, downstream, and collaborating so well with partners all across. So let's shift gears and get into the second aspect, which is reimagining leadership. And I request Pushkar to get on the second question on Slido Mentimeter. And thank you so much, participants, for sharing your views. And now that we are looking at reimagined leadership, so what is it all about? So that's the third question which comes in. So please, again, do what you have done earlier. Those who have not done it, please do it, because, and hold on to your thoughts, comments, questions, because towards the end, we'll try to take a few. The idea is not that we have all the solutions over here, but trigger those thoughts to see what can be done, what can we explore more of. So what are the new approaches? Yeah, going back to basics is something which is very interesting. So let's start with that, going back to basics, going back to experts. So Neelmani, any ideas, thoughts on leadership development, how it's been, because you work with so many different companies and the need of leaders of now for the future, AI enabled. And you have been hearing too much of AI, but there's also an element of human consciousness and stuff like that. So any thoughts on that, Neelmani?
So, before I go to AI, one of the favorite is that I was talking to one of my senior most CIO, and he said, you know, Neil, and it's coming from the CIO, Neil, there's nothing like digital transformation. I said, come on, yeah, you can't say this. You are the chief information officer. You know, as it has been always, and you're talking about fundamental, Deepak, as it has been always, and it is still, it's only business transformation. And when you put technology in the business transformation happens 10x, or God bless, 100x. So AI, Gen AI, natural language processing, or whatever, you need to first understand the destination, which is business transformation. Now that you know the destination, God bless you if you have the Ferrari, very good. If not, Maruti is good enough. Rather, you can board an auto and reach there if you know the right destination. So everything rides on the back of business transformation. Now, I started with talking about transformation and metamorphosis. So the most famous one, which is caterpillar to butterfly. But caterpillar to cat, it doesn't happen. And we should not attempt also. So few things which we need to be aware about, like in Aditya Birla Group, we look at talent very differently. So we look at talent for growth businesses. So who are the talent? We try to categorize talent for growth businesses. For core businesses, now this core business or stable business seems to be, you know, it's not so great happening place, but that's your cash cow. In any conglomerate or large business, your core businesses are your cash cow from where you bring the growth business and merger and acquisitions. And then we look for talent for turnaround businesses and obviously merger and acquisitions, and then niche businesses. As you will see, we are getting into restaurants, jewelry, paints. Now, if you have not, then you'll keep praying from caterpillar to cat. You need to know what transformation you need to create. And the famous 3A model the ability, agility, and aspiration, we follow it. And we look at it in a very interesting manner. Ability is a critical skill, all of us know. Now, agility, one of the topics we are talking about, future. Now, future is a very oxymoron. How can you be in present and be in future? And then we say future ready. There's nothing like future ready, at least in the skill level, because the way skills are changing, it'll knock you off. 10 years, did we know 10 years ago or 15 years ago? I'll be honest, 15, 20 years ago, I was not able to differentiate between IT and digital. How many of us knew that this is how it's going to hit us? Now, so future ready, the only way is agility. And one of the most important of that agility is learning agility. What it helps you is adapt. And the famous adaptive leadership, the Harvard founding adaptive leadership. And we worked with the founder of adaptive leadership, which is Ron Heifetz, very closely. Rather, he was with us in India. The whole future is about adapting, ability to adapt. Predicting future, I'll not advise. Leave it to the astrologers and the consultants of the world who wants to predict, but they also don't want to do that. And finally is the aspiration. So ability, agility, aspiration. Aspiration is, we confuse, it's my personal aspiration to get one more job level. No, it's not about. Aspiration about business. Do you have an aspiration? We look at talent from, does the person brings aspiration? Does she brings aspiration to grow the business? And when the business grows, obviously, the know-how, the problem solving, and the accountability comes or grows along with it. I just defined the hey job point concept. Hence, your job level automatically will grow. So this is what we are looking at. So inner movement, critical skills, and yes, context is king. But perspective is the wise prime minister. We build a lot on perspective. The same Jane Pigeon concept of perspective, when a 4-year child or 5-year child was given a cube with one side red and one side green and asked the child, what do you see? The child said, green. And asked, what do I see? The child said, green. But when a 10-year or 12-year boy or girl was given, asked her, what do you see? Green. What do I see? Red. This is perspective. Ability to see what my customer is seeing, what my CFO is seeing, what my strategy head is seeing, what my market is seeing. Many of us in HR, we sometimes miss that. And many of our talent is missing that. Context is king, but perspective is something we try to work a lot around. And the 4 areas where we work, 4 perspectives we try to bring to the leadership at Aditya Birla Group is the mega trends. Are they able to see the trends? Then we work on, do they understand the ecosystem at smallest level and at largest macro level? Country, global, the central bank, the currency, or the inner team and the peer level. Then business imperatives, from supply chain to global brands and so on. We all know about this very well. And most important last is perspective around authentic leadership. What are they doing with themselves? Are they organization builders? Are they building organization? And are they bringing inspirational leadership? So these are the space we are working on. And the AI and technology, once, as I said, the business transformation, the agenda is clear, they become very useful to accelerate it. We are using best of the methods in AI, Gen AI, to reach there. I'm going to stop here.
Thanks, Nilma. Just connecting the 2 points which earlier you mentioned about running the business, changing the business, and the 10x part. So I'll take that as an anchor to move on and request CJK to share his views. So now we are looking at leadership not only from a growth, which is 10x or a quarter on quarter results, but also the need to change from a planet purpose perspective, which has also become very important because as leaders, you're delivering profits, you're taking care of your people is given, but you also need to do certain things from a planet perspective. And how do you ensure that the organization continues to be really purposeful? And nowadays younger generation millennials want to be associated with an organization which is really purposeful. So any thoughts on that
Yeah,
from your experience?
I'll keep it short. Um, as he rightly said, you look at the existing business and the new business. And if even in the existing business, the new technology, what you bring in and how do you train them, different ways of getting it done. It's a skill training. But let us focus on leadership. Our in the initial session, he was talking about Blake and Moulton theory of managerial grid. When I was studying in '88, that was old theory. Okay, even before that we were talking. But even today, the problem exists. Biggest problem is how do you manage task and the relationship. Um, if you look at attrition, you get into the details of attrition, boil down finally why people left. The highest reason will be supervisor. Don't just go by your exit interview, what is done in the portal. We do it after a period of 3 months, after his PF is settled, full and final settled, gratuity is paid, everything is done. Very informal tone you ask, slowly the matter comes out that this is the way I was treated, this is the role given, no feedback is given. Finally, it lands up with the supervisor. So how do you build that leadership skills? How do you build the empathy? How do you build, how do you give a feedback? How do you show, the people are not, engagement is not, according to me, I keep telling it is not cake cutting and doing some celebration. It is, how do I engage with the person? Why am I here? What am I doing? How am I growing in this organization? How you can help me grow? That type of a thing, how do you build inside this is very, very, very important today. And that too with the technology getting inside, still more focus has to be given. So I can keep going on, but to next thing in terms of training, with seeing the word code I just noted down. Today, learning agility becomes one of the very, very important competencies. One thing if people should have is the learning agility and the digital mindset. If that is their balance, everything can be put into this because things are changing in such a fast pace. So how do you keep pace with that? How do you build your skills, etc.? That is at our own pace, at our own speed. How do you keep building it? That is more important. Thank you.
Great, thanks. So Joseph, any views from your side? Because in an organization like yours, you deal with people at MR level with high attrition as well as doctors and this thing, but still leadership is leadership. So any ideas, thoughts around that?
So I'll just give one or two examples. So we have leadership development centers which we do on two scales. One is for identifying future leaders, which is to ensure that we can put them in the new role. And the other is about giving them the insights which helps them to be leaders. Okay, so both the aspects we have looked at. Now, how it has helped us is majority of first line and second line managers are coming from a medical rep level, which means that there's a career ladder available for them. Sometimes when people do well, they are not necessarily having positions to progress, and then they are forced to leave and find the next level role in another organization. So if you can provide that, why not? And then that creates a lot of commitment and loyalty towards the organization with much better returns for the organization. So end of the day, company does much better because they have people who know the rules, regulations, the processes, and can do much better. We also work with them next 30, 60, 90 days so that they don't stray away from the path of the new role that they have been given. Always remember, all these people were any which way very good at their work. It's a question of who can be a better leader. We also have structures in place so that they, the high-performing employees, they get to interact with the senior leadership on a regular basis from across functions. This entails that they get to get very good guidance on leadership, on strategic thinking and decision making, Because we end up sitting on the fence, not able to take decisions. That's a poor thing, right? So these things are some of the examples that I just wanted to share so that you can see what works for you based on the nuances of your organization. See whether this or something else, but think through it. It helps. Because if employees are taken care of, believe me, and they find it sincere effort, they really work for the organization. Thank you.
Thanks, Joseph. So let's open this forum to any thoughts. The first Mentimeter, the first aspect over there was around agility, and the second was around orthodox mindset. So anybody wants to have any thought, opinion, questions? Yes, I can see a hand raised over there. If you can just mention your name and your question, observation, and whom do you want to address it to?
Hi, my name is Arvind Riker. I'm from Tata Steel Industrial Consultancy. My question goes to, I can't see, the person besides you.
Joseph. Yeah.
Joseph. Joseph, the question is, you spoke about high performance people and leadership. I mean, I've seen it happen many times that just because people perform very well, the numbers are well, they are thought that they are going to be leaders. Why is this mindset still there in our mind that only those people are capable to be leaders who have performance as number-wise better? For example, we made Kapil Dev a captain, and he himself said this word, that making me a captain was the biggest mistake by BCCI, and then throwing me out of my captainship was another mistake that BCCI did. So the question to you is that, how do we find the right leaders who are not among those best high performers?
Thank you. So I'll share my thoughts on it. If I were to look at people, I would, for a set of a role that I may have, I will certainly look at performing people, okay, as a base, all right? That goes in. I cannot have people who are not performing well taken into a senior leadership role. Nobody will have any respect for them. So once I have taken these high-performing guys, that's what I was giving the example, then we assess them on various interventions, which is to do a lot with interactions. How do they in their groups? So we will have multiple groups. In each group, how do they maneuver the team or the group, which may not be part of their normal people, right? Or normal group. They may not even know them, but they are from some part of India for us. How do they navigate through those discussions to achieve the objective which was given to them? All right? So this helps us understand their conflict resolution skills, their emotional resilience, right? And the thought process they have to negotiate in unknown territory. Once I have that set of people identified, I'm sure of that lot who is ready now, who is ready a little later. And what do? I have to do for those who are ready later, right? So we work on two sets, right? So now once I've identified this set of people, my next job is to ensure that I can give them the role quickly. There's no point in saying he's the best, make him wait for 2 years. He's changed, right? Maybe he's even lost interest in what you would have done for him. So use his interest and make use of it. It helps him, it helps the organization. So if I've understood you right, thank you.
Thanks, Joseph. Just to...
See,
Yeah, yes, please. Yeah, just to correlate, I think, with the earlier aspect of orthodox mindset, I think the measures of success need to be redefined, because typically past performance and the seat on leadership table needs to be challenged. Probably the ability to deal with failures, the ability to come out with our own vulnerabilities and yet be over there might be something to look at. Otherwise, we are also used to past performance and through an assessment find out what could probably work in the future and define. Kapil Dev was a classic example. Thank you so much. Any other quick question, observation? Yeah, there are many hands, but let me give it to that lady sitting over there. Yeah.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Suhana, and I think I'm still wondering about the question very rightly posed by you about in an ever transformation happens with a pause, and how do you pause while being in the movement, and especially in the VUCA world where how is L&D changing? Because by the time you're building up on the competency framework and mapping things, and especially for a growing organization, things would have changed. The business priorities would have changed.
So how do you, as an L&D professional, be more agile and provide more quicker solution to the business?
Yeah, I guess that's for Neelmani.
Yeah, I think you asked a question which keeps me awake at night. Thank you for asking it. Yeah, we live in the world of dualities, and pausing while in movement. And one thing I've been pondering a lot these days is we keep talking future of work. Very few of us talk about purpose of work. I've hardly seen literature on purpose of work. A lot of literature on purpose, but purpose of work. Very few of us talk, what is the purpose of work? To myself, I take it as, if in my career, if I have not been able to grow the planet, or grow the society or community, or grow myself, I don't know if I did good work. So help employees and your leaders connect to the purpose of work also. And most of the organization, if you go and study the purpose of the organization, it will be connected to one of the three or something more. Now, that is a place where the all classic, Gallup, Strength Finder, or Simon Sinek, the why, and all those things will automatically start following in. And then bring the technology, then bring the whole AI, then bring what is contemporary. But we have to, the whole challenge is, do we understand the fundamental and then go to the applied? Else the applied becomes gizmo when the fundamental get lost. Those are the places, whenever we design an intervention, especially longitudinal long intervention, we do a lot of listening. And the age-old listening is, Buddha said, and we yet say, is cardinal. Thank you.
Yeah,
If you
yes,
take further questions, she will not give us lunch.
Yeah, so thank you so much. I think it was a very profound conversation that we had. I think the conversations were at a very principle level, and lots of tools, techniques, methods which we can follow. But for me, two takeaways which actually came from the word cloud. One is agility and second is orthodox mindset. So I think it's very important to start with how do we be aware of our own orthodox mindset, because I think next 3, 4, 5 years are going to be very important for us to explore, experiment, and work on those aspects of reconditioning, being aware of our own beliefs, biases, and looking at things in a different manner. And for that, even the definition of agility has to be looked at differently. Lots of takeaways. I'm certainly going to relook at this video once again, play over it, to understand, grab it, and implement those ideas, thoughts as we move forward. So once again, a great thank you to all the panelists for your ideas, thoughts, and conversations which were at a very principal level. And a big thank you for each one of you. A round of applause for you for your participation.
Thank you so very much to all our speakers. I must say that was not just a panel discussion, but a masterclass in itself. A round of applause one more time. Thank you so much. With that, may I please invite on stage Ms. Jane Karkada to join us and felicitate all our speakers with a memento. It's time we thank all our speakers for sharing with us and giving us so much food for thought when it comes to sharing those very dynamic journeys of transforming talent, learning, and building and leadership development as well. Would like to thank our moderator, Mr. Deepak Deshpande, Vice President and Head Customer Experience, Tata Business Excellence Group. We'd also like to thank Mr. Joseph Abraham, Head of Human Relations, India Commercial and Global COE Marketing, Mylan Pharmaceuticals Limited. Also thanking Dr. C. Jayakumar, Executive Vice President and Head of Corporate Human Resources, Larsen & Toubro Limited. It's not only L&T, but it's learning and training as well. Also like to thank Mr. Nilmani Singh, Group Head, Learning and Head, Global Center for Leadership, Gyanodaya Aditya Birla Group.